Howdy ho, amigos, and welcome back to FFB, your source for everything Premier League and Chelsea. We just finished the game, and Chelsea have done the business. Defeated Leicester 2-1. I was going to say 2-0. That was almost the case until last minute penalty that we will be discussing. This puts Chelsea still ahead of Arsenal. There's no way they're going to score enough goals to cut the distance in goal difference. So Chelsea likely to remain third. And we had some surprises today because we know the very sad reality of the Reece James industry. Yeah, it is an industry of a lot of pain and surgeries and time not on the field. But yes, the Reece James injury, which put him out, and the little knock that Malagusto had apparently was more than a little knock, so he didn't line up either. We went with Wesley Fofana, which we know has the speed to play at that position, not necessarily enough training and skill to play in that position. And somebody who was very cheered by his prior fans, Leicester fans, really. He had a tough day with the crowd there today, booing him every time he touched the ball. However, that was a surprise. So he played at right back. Enzo came back in. I had discussed in the prior video. I discussed both the injuries, so guys, please go and watch that video regarding the Reece James injury, which I think we might have to give up on that player. It's been years coming. Let's hope not. Knock on wood, amigos. Let's hope that that's not the case. But, it's not looking good. Hamstrings at this stage and with so little games after his surgery. But with him at right back, Fofana at right back, and with the three tired midfields, we had discussed that. Lavia had a knock. Enzo and Caicedo were super tired, giving the long flights in the long game, especially if Caicedo had to play. However, they did line up. Lavia did not. And they played in one would assume they were going to play in a double pivot with Felix playing on the left. And that's sort of technically the lineup what happened, but in game things were a little bit different. We'll get into that. So, what I saw happening a lot was this interesting formation where a bit of a diamond gets formed. So it's like three in a diamond. Caicedo, in reality, since we were going to play like an ultra attacking format, and Maresca had mentioned that he wanted to change things up since Leicester would have found his game a little too predictable. Caicedo was sitting in front of the line of three, which Cucurella launched up into a left winger pretty much. And instead of having the double pivot next to him, that normal little square or little box that we form in the middle, it was Caicedo alone most of the time. Since Cucurella, instead of dropping as the second six, was pretty much playing out of the left winger. And Enzo Fernández was further up the field as like a third 10 at some point. It was like a block of three in front of him, one on the left and one on the right, but further up the field than Caicedo, and obviously the number 10 slot right in front of him. And at times when he really didn't have a way to play out, someone would drop into the pivot slot, but most of the time it looked like a 3 and a 1, let's say in the initial phase of the game when trying to play out. The ones called that would drop back to try to play the ball out, as always, was often Palmer, and most of the time was actually Felix, which I don't know if it was because of the physical condition that Enzo Fernández was in. He wasn't the one dropping. He was the one staying up higher most of the time. And then obviously on the right we had Noni Madueke, and up top we had Jackson. So in the 15th minute, I like this player, Fies. Maybe it's the hair. Maybe I get the David Luiz vibes. But he really messes up. So he's getting muscled and hustled down by Jackson, and he fails to clear like a overhead kick kind of a thing without dropping. He shouldn't have done that in the first place. And then he sort of attempts to control the ball on his knee under pressure with Jackson and clear the ball. That was just a terrible mistake. He should have done it on the first. He should have done it on the second. Kick it backwards to the side, try to clear over behind his back. Wasn't the best of ideas, especially with a high ball like that. He gets muscled down. Great job by Jackson. He wasn't as prominent in the game as I wish I would have liked to see him. And I think this is the kind of game that in the past that we've said is a better game probably for Nkuku with the tight spaces when they're playing a low block against us. But anyway, he fails to clear and recover the ball, and then Felix gets his assist. He just pings it quickly back to Jackson, who does an amazing world-class striker finish. You guys, please go check it out. Amazing finish. It's what we need to see from our striker. Then Felix looked lively in the game, especially in the first half. He did a couple of plays where, great dribble, nice little pass. Leicester did not show up at the beginning of the game. That was a little shocking. They weren't even set up properly for a counterattack, so they didn't show up. They made it easy for Chelsea. They in the second half, things changed, but certainly they were playing a low block. And funny enough, you would see Fofana or Colwell or these guys, when they were playing out the back, sort of step on the ball, trying to tempt Jamie Vardy to come out and press. And it wasn't happening, to the point it would look silly a couple of times where they were trying to tempt them past the midway line, closer to the Chelsea, inside the Chelsea half. And he just wouldn't trigger, they wouldn't trigger the press. So Chelsea would have to play through a tighter block, no matter what they tried. So later in the game, they had two good chances, and I think Ndidi missed a great opportunity to score. And they sort of figured out the attack. They were playing at home, so I'm not saying they should have pressed Chelsea high. That would have been a mistake, but they should have had something lined up for a different phase of play to reach Vardy rather than what they did. But in the second half, like I said, they did. There was a disallowed goal that I want to talk about also for Chelsea. It was a great pass by Palmer and Cucurella, but it was ruled offside. But that was actually a great play, and that's what we weren't seeing last year under Pochettino, and that we hope to see this year, which is there, guys. We see patterns of play. We see the idea. And today, with this little diamond thing, and I've spoken about us playing in a diamond. I didn't figure a line of 3 diamond. I was thinking in a different kind of game, towards a more offensive, when we need to be offensive, but probably with a stronger team. However, this was interesting, this little diamond shape in the middle, with just having one DM in front of the line of 3, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, and the poor passing of Sánchez, again, an issue. He did it a couple of times. I think it was minute 39. He shows us again why, if we're going to play like this, he's not the player to do that, which ironically we bought him to do that. I don't get it, man. But that is what it is. And he was late in the 39th, and then on the 71st minute, he was late clearing a ball as well. Overthinks it, and he gets blocked. That's just silly. That shouldn't happen. If you're going to boot the ball, you're going to clear it. And I spoke in the last couple of match reviews with you guys. Chelsea need to clear the ball. And when they've done it, it's been successful. Even in this game, either we get a throw in or we win the second ball. So it's good to see that we're not psycho trying to play out from the back, and with it we are clearing. We just need to be a little bit quicker on that sometimes. Especially, I'm speaking to you, Colwell, and I'm speaking to you, Sánchez, but Colwell also a couple of times. Come on, man. He would put Caicedo really under pressure. One was just a silly one, and that's a kind of mistake that we would get punished for in a different game with no chance to come back into the game. Felix and Palmer playing as dual 10s, which I liked, and I said even Enzo was higher up, but that forced our defenders to sometimes have to seek a riskier pass past Caicedo because he was marked into those 10s. So it was a bit of a longer 20-meter pass. And I think they did well. A couple, we messed up, but given the difficulty level, I think it wasn't terrible. But that was pretty high risk, if you ask me. Enzo had a tap in. It was a rebound after a great cross in by Cucurella. and he scores his first goal since February. Now, some of you might say, "Oh, but he doesn't play that much. He hasn't been playing that much lately." And I call bull honky, amigos, because he's been playing since February. He played a lot at the end of last season and at the beginning of the season. However, look, we didn't bring him in to score goals. We brought him in to set him up. He had a decent game. It was I think it was a good game for him to play against lesser competition. No offense, Leicester. But actually, Leicester right now, I was reading this. They have the worst start for the amount of points that they have with this amount of games in a Premier League for like 20-something years. So they might be stuck in a relegation battle for sure this year, which would be sad because they've become really a Premier League sort of name in the last few years. And that unbelievable championship that, thank God, I think that's one of the greatest things that can happen to football when an underdog like that comes and does it. Let's hope Chelsea's that underdog this year. Madueke's performance, good in the sense that his output is good. He's in there, he's fighting, but he snatched the goal away from Cole Palmer by being in the way, which fine, that could happen. But he seemed to take on players, but that last decisive little pass or his finishing is off, I was thinking I wanted him out around the 70th minute. I wanted something different, even though he is engaging and he's playing. When he's not delivering that final ball, you start asking questions and looking for something else. And Nkunku came in to replace Felix, minute 80. I'm not that fan. The changes are coming in late lately with Enzo Maresca. I lauded him before because he would make them early in the game when needed, even if that was at the very beginning of the first half. And it won't give a player like Nkunku any time to have an impact if you bring him in with 8-10 minutes to go. Rare that he'll do that. But I'm glad. I think it's evident he brought in Lavia to replace Caicedo, which I mentioned I knew was tired and had some burnout, although he had, as always, a display of it wasn't his best game, but always a display of fight and a great game for him. Lavia comes in late, a little clumsy, steps on the striker, on the Leicester striker for a penalty. Obviously, Ayew converts the penalty. Sánchez dives the right way, but not enough on it. Pretty powerful shot. Gets a hand on it, but doesn't do it. So that's kind of what we saw today. Chelsea doing the business. And we have a run of games coming up now where that's what we're called to do. It doesn't matter how, although we played a good game today, but it doesn't matter how. We need to collect those points against all sort of smaller teams that are behind us in the table to keep that distance, to remain in the top four, and hopefully dream of something else. Dreaming of something else like, please tell me in the comments, do you think that Chelsea can realistically compete for the Premier League title? If City continues to drop their levels a little bit, Arsenal already did. I'm not even saying win. Do you think we're going to be up there fighting the second spot? Do you think we're going to struggle for the Champions League spots? I know we're only a third of the season through, not even that. But tell me how you feel. And the second thing that I want to know about in the comments, please share what your thoughts are on the James industry. The industry of watching this man be hurt and play on and off for years and they say it's not a big injury, but we shouldn't be seeing it with the level of football that he's playing and how much care we're putting into his health and his recovery. But please let me know your thoughts. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like if you found any value in what I'm sharing with you. I am very grateful to all of you who have subscribed, who have liked my videos in the past. Thank you so much. It's great to feel that support, and it's very motivating to keep me engaged in creating content, which I hope to get better and better at and produce better content for you weekly, if not daily, from now on. And thank you so much for that support. Again, come on, you Blues.